My name is Alan Pugh. I'm the head of agent success here at TravelJoy, and this is TravelJoy 101. Today we're going to be going over some of the basics of TravelJoy to help you create a trip, understand your dashboard and menus, and give you an opportunity as well to ask some questions along the way. You will notice along the way that there's a few things here and there that look like they're cut off. That's because we're zoomed in 150% on the screen. It will not look like that on your end when you're using TravelJoy. So let's go ahead and jump in. So we're going to start with the dashboard here, and the dashboard basically has a few different components. It has the trip stages, which is what you see at the top here, and that basically allows you to take a look at trips that are in a particular stage. So if you have trips that are in the inquiry or the follow-up stage, you can click on one of those and it will list your trips down below that are in that stage. We'll talk more about what trip stages mean soon and how to change those trip stages. But once you get that information, just know that this is the place where you go to see trips in any given stage. By default, all is checked here. So I mentioned that we would be going through how to change those trip stages. There's two ways to do that. One of them is completely automated, in which you send a client inquiry form, and now it's waiting on the client right here. That will happen automatically. Say that you send the client a proposal, it will change to proposal sent automatically and waiting on client. When the client replies, it will switch to proposal approved automatically. But there may be times where a client calls you. They've opened up the inquiry, they have some questions, or they've opened up the proposal and have some questions, and at the end of that phone call, they decide that they're going to approve it. You can actually go in and change the status yourself right here on the dashboard for any given trip to proposal approved or trip booked. So the best bet, generally speaking, is to let it go through the automatic progression of trip stages. However, if you need to move one to a different stage, you can do that. Trip stages are also customizable, so if you don't like the 7 or 8 trip stages that we have up here right now, yours should have 7. You can add a stage, remove stages, change the name of them, change the description, and you can do that by clicking the little gear right here beside dashboard. You'll see that you can grab a hold of any of these and drag them up and down to move them around. You can change the stage, you can change the description. And if you go down clear to the bottom here, I made this one in our last TravelJoy 101. It was called Client Has Returned. I wanted to have that stage available. Now I want to get rid of that. So what I can do is click the trash can. And that gets rid of that stage. If I want to add it back, I can come back in here and click Add Stage and then Save. And as you'll see, the trip stages are updated automatically. That stage no longer exists. The same thing goes for the waiting on me versus waiting on client below. Basically what this means is if you've sent the client a form and they haven't responded yet, it's waiting on the client. If they have responded, it's waiting on you. This is a great way to start your day, logging into TravelJoy and coming to waiting on me and dealing with all the trips who are currently waiting on interaction from you. Say that they've sent back an inquiry, sent back a proposal, made a payment. Now it's waiting on you. So that's just a great way to put your task list together. So that's what these two things up at the top are for. By default, both of them are on all. That way you'll see all your trips down here. If you ever feel like not all of your trips are showing in the list, it could be that you've accidentally clicked one of these things above and you just need to reset them both to all. All right, so now for the actual trip list. This is your active trips. All of your trips that are active will be listed here, and you can sort them by whatever you want. By default, the most recently updated will be at the top. You can also sort by the travel departure date, the client name, the trip name, so anything that you'd like here. You can also change the stage and who it's waiting on automatically. And the last thing that you see over here is the ability to archive. So let's say Alan Pugh's trip here. Say that he called up and said, this is out of my budget, I've decided I can't do it. You can click the archive button right here and say outside budget. Easy enough. The benefit to this, instead of deleting a trip, is that if you've archived a trip, you can always go back and look at the details. And the way to do that at the top right corner is to click archived and find it in the list. It's right here. And in fact, you can actually unarchive it by clicking Unarchive. We're going to go ahead and switch back to the Active tab here. One more thing to note about the dashboard is that you can get rid of these, some of these different features if you want to by clicking on the gear over here. So you can get rid of everything except for the archive button and the trip name if you'd like, but most clients like to keep everything up on the screen here. So that's everything about the trip dashboard. Pretty simple and straightforward. You can go to any one of your trip pages by simply clicking it right there in the dashboard, and that's going to take you to the trip landing page. More about that soon though. The next thing that we want to do is go over the left side menu. So right now we're just kind of going over the navigation. We'll create a trip here in about 5 minutes. But first let's talk about what all these buttons over here do. So just really quickly, there's a couple of things that we're going to skip, and I will tell you exactly why we're skipping those. There's a couple of things that are just a little bit complex, and that would be templates and reports. We don't really dive into those too much during TravelJoy 101, and in fact, we actually have a TravelJoy 201 specifically to address those types of things. So basically, TravelJoy 201 is something that we do once every other week on Thursday at the same time as this, 2 Eastern, 11 Pacific. And what I'm going to do before we get started here is share the link to sign up for TravelJoy 201. We do have one coming up tomorrow. However, it is pretty in-depth, so if you're just getting started, I would probably wait a couple of weeks. If you're feeling pretty comfortable though, feel free to join us tomorrow for TravelJoy 201. So let's go over everything else on this left-hand side. Tasks and calendar are very interrelated because they both show the same thing, just in a slightly different way. Tasks are things that you can attach to your trips. They're basically checklists of things that you need to do. When you create a payment schedule or an invoice, which we'll do later, each payment that you add to the payment schedule generates a reminder under your tasks. You can also create tasks manually, such as the send welcome home email that I have here for Alan Edwards' trip. I'll show you how to build these tasks later once we make our trip. But in the meantime, just know that once you've made tasks for any number of trips, you'll be able to see all of them in one list right here on the Tasks tab. You can sort by name, sort by the trip that it's a part of, and of course the most convenient is sorting by due date. You can also add a task from here. This is typically not the most convenient place to add a task though, and we'll get to that when we build our first trip. Calendar is exactly the same thing as tasks, except, as you could guess, it's laid out on a calendar. So these are the two things that you just saw for August 13th and August 16th that are still in my list that are not completed yet. The advantage to seeing them on a calendar, other than, just obviously being able to look at today, is the ability to also see trip dates. So I'm going to go ahead and skip forward to September here, and you'll see the Alan Edwards trip is September 7th through September 21st. You can see your tasks and your trips on the calendar tab here. So we'll go down to clients, and I'm going to tell you what the clients tab does here. First, we'll talk about what you're seeing on the screen right now, which is several different badges that each have some client information. We're going to be focusing on Amanda Lynn today. She's a totally fictional client. What you can see as you look at her badge here is you can see her name, her email address, her date of birth. You can also see that she has 2 active trips in the system right now. If you click on the 2 trips, it'll pull them up so you can go directly to them and check them out. It also has a credit card icon, which means she has payment information on file. If you click this, you'll be able to pull up the payment information quickly and easily if you need to pay a supplier invoice. By the way, just so you know, sometimes you're going to click on Show Credit Card, and it's not going to work until you've entered your password. That's there for your security, but it won't do it every single time. It will only do it if there's been a period of inactivity. As you move across, there's also a green edit button here. If you click that, you'll pull up the client's entire profile where you can add their email address, phone number, website, passport information, travel preferences. You can enter some private notes if you'd like. You can see their trips and their payment info as well. So all of their information is available when you click that edit button, and you can go through the various tabs to add, edit, and change and remove information here. And when you're done, of course, click Save. Now the last thing that you see is a red X, pretty self-explanatory. It's a delete button, but I'm going to show you really quick. It will give you an error if they have trips. TravelJoy will not let you accidentally delete somebody who has trips active. So first you'd have to delete the trips and then delete the client. Now let's move up and show you how to actually add your client list. You can import clients. You can do that by coming up here to the three dots and the Add Client button. To add your clients, of course, you're going to click Add Client. And if you just want to add one, just click New Client. Easy enough. But if you want to add your list, if you have a list in a spreadsheet or even written down on pen and paper, what you can do is click Client Import. Now, just a heads up, there's two different types of client imports. This might sound a little confusing, but give me just a moment and you'll see that it's actually pretty straightforward. There's an instant import and a custom import. If you have a spreadsheet already created from another piece of software and you just want to give us that spreadsheet and let us manually put everybody in for you, you can do that by going to custom. Just drag that spreadsheet right in there, and in 3 to 5 business days, we'll get your spreadsheet all converted into clients under your account. However, if you need your clients a little bit quicker, you can use our instant import. Instant import works by downloading a spreadsheet, and across that spreadsheet are different headers for first, middle, last name, date of birth, email address, phone number, all that good stuff. And you put your client information in that spreadsheet. So either you transcribe it from pen and paper, or you copy and paste from your own spreadsheet and just put it in the right columns. And then you come back to upload that instant import. And what's going to happen is, because you use our spreadsheet and our headers, it's going to put everything in place for you automatically, and you'll have access to them within a couple of minutes. So that's why we have the two options there. One other thing that we have that I'd like to point out really quick on the Clients tab is the three dots here, which has a few options, but the important one is Export Clients. If you use MailChimp or Constant Contact, anything where you need to import your client data, you can quickly and easily export all of your clients at any time. It will give you a spreadsheet, and then you'll be able to move that over and import it into your third-party application. Of course, there's a search bar here as well. It's pretty self-explanatory what that does. It searches for client by first or last name or email address. The tutorials tab we're going to go over at the very end today, but as it would suggest, it's just an area for tutorials and help as you go along, and we're adding a lot of videos in there right now. So that's something to keep in mind. If you happen to drop off early and you have questions later, you can always go to that tutorials tab. And then settings. There's only a couple things under settings that I want to point out right now, because most of this is that boring stuff that you're never going to actually have to jump into. The one that I do want to point out right away is settings bank info. If you're going to be collecting money that comes straight into your account, now this doesn't apply to all agents, but if you are going to be collecting trip planning fees or plan to go fees, things like that that come directly to you, this is where you put in your banking information. You do need to fill out every field here. And once you do that, we will turn on the ability to send direct invoices to collect money directly. Until you add that information in, though, you're not able to send direct invoices because we don't want to hold on to your money for you. We want to get that to you as quickly as possible. All right, so that's everything on the menus over here. I am going to take us now to create our first trip. This is going to be a trip for Amanda Lynn. So to create a trip, you always come up to the top left corner here and click this big pink Create button, and then click Trip. There's only a few things that you need to create a trip. You need a traveler, and you need a photo, and there is one automatically chosen for you, but it's going to be a good idea to update that. And then the last thing that you need is the name of a trip. Now, if you don't have your client in the system yet, you don't have to go to the Clients tab to add them. If you're creating a trip on the fly and you need to create a new client, you can just click Create New. Toss in their first and last name and email address, and that's all that you need. Instead, though, today we're actually going to be using a traveler that we already have in the system by the name of Amanda Lynn. And we're going to name this trip Vegas or Bust. You can name the trip anything that you want to. It will show up on the client's invoice, so definitely have some fun with it. And then the last thing that I'm going to do here for now is choose a photo for this trip by coming up to Choose Photo. If you have your own photo, by all means use the Upload button here and upload it. Make sure it's a wide format instead of a tall one, because it's going to be at the top of forms. But in the meantime, we do have all these amazing royalty-free images from Pixabay. So I want to come over here and search for Vegas, and I want to find that Vegas sign, that infamous welcome to Vegas. Here we go. I'm going to click that. And that's going to show up at the top of Amanda Lynn's trip when she opens a form, an invoice, or a proposal. You can optionally click more trip details here and add a starting date, end date, budget, number of travelers. That's not necessary to fill that out. Just wanted to let you know that it's there. We're going to go ahead and create the trip by clicking Create Trip. Julie, that's correct. We do use Stripe as our payment processor. So if you're collecting service fees, you can collect those directly through TravelJoy and they will be paid out to you. Payouts are 2 business days for credit cards. And if the client decides to pay with a bank transfer, we do have to wait till the check clears. So that would be 5 to 7 business days for a bank transfer. So we'll have some more information on that as we build the invoices as well. So that's a great question. So what you're seeing here right now is a trip page. This is where all the magic happens. There's a few tabs going across the top here, but they don't matter until we've actually done something with a trip, sent a form or a proposal or an invoice. So we're going to do that before we really dive into everything that you're seeing here. Really quickly though, the one thing that I do want to point out before we start sending anything is the 3 dots over here again. You can click this and click Edit Trip at any time to change the photo, change the travelers, change the name of the trip, add a confirmation number, or anything that you'd like to do, including adding or removing a group. So that's all there for you. Let's go ahead and send our first form. Of course, the first form that we're typically going to send is a client inquiry, so we're going to click Create up here, and then click Form. And there's a drop down here with all the different forms that either come with TravelJoy or the forms that I've created. I'm going to select Client Inquiry here. And you can click Preview if you'd like. Basically, this isn't required, but what it's going to do is show you everything that the client's going to see in their end. That's what the preview is for. When you're done, click Next Review Email. And what's going to pop up is an email that the client will receive that links them to their form. The email has a subject, it has a message body, it has a signature. The message tells them exactly what they need to do. This is automated. You don't need to set this up. When you send a client inquiry form, the subject is needed from you, a few details. And then the message specifies, I'd like to know more about your needs to see if I can be a good fit. So this is all very, very personalized and custom created for you. When you're ready, you can scroll down and click Send, and that's it. You've now sent your client inquiry form over to Amanda Lynn. So let's see what Amanda Lynn sees over on her end. Since she's a completely fictional client, we can come over here to her inbox, open up the email that we just sent with the subject and message that we just discussed, and she's going to click View Trip Form. As you saw in the preview, you've got the image at the top, the name of the trip, the name of the client, your logo, name and company name, and then you've got all the different questions here. She can answer as many or as few questions as she likes. She can leave them all blank except for one if she wants to. But let's say September 8th through September 15th. Kind of long for a Vegas trip, but that's okay. When she's ready, she can come up here and click Submit Form. Now, just really quickly, you'll see Add Traveler here. This exists on all of the forms that you send via a trip. If you send a form via a trip, the primary traveler can fill it out multiple times, super, super easy. What this means is you don't have to finagle forms together to ask for information on 4 people. You can just send the form, and once they fill it out for themselves, they can just click Add Traveler, super easy, and add the second traveler's information. That way, your forms are a little bit more well put together and sync up with the system a little bit better. So that's there for you to utilize and for your clients to take advantage of as well. Now that we've sent, I'm going to refresh my page here. Now that we have sent an actual form, I can show you what all these cool tabs are for on the trip page. We're on the Messages tab right now. All communications back and forth are listed here. Think of it like a reverse text message because, with text messages, the newest message is always at the bottom. This is the same thing except the newest message is always at the top. I'm going to scroll down here. And the first thing that you're going to see, the oldest thing in the feed, is that today at 2:21 p.m. Eastern, I sent a message. That's why my face is over here. And it was this message in this form. Now you see that it says viewed over here. You can hover over this and see that Amanda Lynn viewed this form at 2:22 p.m. With proposals, it even tells you when they viewed and when they accepted the proposal. So there's a lot of information here on the Messages tab. As I scroll up, I see that Amanda Lynn, see the button over here, sent a message back at 2:22 p.m. Here's the only 3 fields she filled out. Everything else she left blank. If you send a proposal or an invoice or anything and Amanda Lynn responds, all that's going to show up in the Messages feed here. And if you just want to send a message, just a random message to check in with her, you can click on type your message here. Type up your message, pick a subject, click send, and you can message back and forth with her directly via this tab as well. So that's what the Messages tab's all about. The next tab is the Files tab, which is going to include the client inquiry form that you just sent over. So you can always find the forms, proposals, and invoices that you have sent your client by going to the Files tab. There's another really cool thing that you can do here though, which is you can click here to add a file, like a PDF, an image. If you've got a picture of their passport information, you can drop it right here. And any information, any files that you drop here, whether they're PDF, Word docs, images, you can then send to the client by clicking on the 3 dots and then clicking resend. So, and you'll see more files show up here as we go along and send more files. Tasks is what I was talking about earlier. This is where you create a task for a trip. Say that we want to send a welcome home email. So let's create a task called send welcome home email and click add. So we've got the task, but there's no details yet. So let's click to open it up. When we open it up, we see the name. We can set a due date. We can set a manual due date, say September 15th if we want. Or we can set a relative due date, which is even better. Here's why. When you set a relative due date, you're setting a date relative to a part of the trip. So let's say 1 day after the trip end date at 8 a.m. This is when you're going to want to send your welcome home email. So that's why relative dates are really cool. You can ask for a reminder. That's automatically checked. That way you're going to get an email reminder telling you to do this task. The last tab down here is action. Now this is a little bit advanced and we'll be talking about it more tomorrow, but I do want to show you really quickly. The action, when you get the reminder, is going to remind you to send an email or send a form if you choose an action. So let's choose send email, and it's going to make us choose which email we want to send. Let's go with the welcome home email. This is something that I've created, so you may not have this in your inbox. However, what this is going to do now, 1 day after the trip end date at 8 a.m., I'm going to get an email saying, hey, send the welcome home email over to Amanda Lynn. Click here to do it. I can click the button in that email. It's going to pull up the welcome home email and give me a send button, so I don't have to type it or do any extra work. In 2 clicks, I'll have that email sent off to Amanda Lynn. That simple. You'll see all of your tasks for just this trip on this tab. You'll see all of your tasks and the trip date for just this trip on the calendar tab as well. We better zoom forward to September here. So you see the dates here for the actual trip, then you see the task that we added. The difference between tasks and calendar on the left and tasks and calendar in the trip is in the trip, they only show for the specific trip that you're in. And over here, they show for all trips. The last tab is pretty straightforward. It's just the Notes tab. This is completely private. If you're on the phone with a client and they're giving you some information and you want to save that, go ahead and click here to enter your private notes. And when you're done, go ahead and click the checkbox. That simple. Your notes will always be there. They don't have date and time stamps in here just yet, but that is a feature that's coming in the near future. So that's something that we get asked a lot. It is coming pretty soon. All right. So now that we're through what all these tabs across the top do, I'm going to go ahead and create a proposal. There's 3 different ways to create a proposal. They all start by clicking create and proposal, of course, right? Okay. So I'm going to walk through all 3 different ways to create a proposal. I just want to let you know down here at the bottom, no matter which of the 3 methods that you choose, you can click more proposal details, and this is where you can put the total package cost, the deposit amount, the due date for the deposit, and some notes about the trip. So let's talk about the actual 3 methods here then. You're going to build your itinerary one of 3 ways. You're either going to build them in a PDF or Word document, some other form of document that you've created with your own tools. You're going to create it through a third-party service such as Travify that gives you a link with a full itinerary to send to the client. Or you're going to create it manually via copying and pasting off of a website or something to that effect. The first thing that we're going to talk about is the file upload method. This is if you create itineraries using PDFs, documents, or images. All you need to do for a file upload is drag that PDF or document right here in this box. That's it. You're good to go. However, this file upload method has one caveat that makes it even more awesome. If you have 3 different proposals that you want to send to your client and you want them to choose their favorite, you can put each of them into their own PDF or their own document, drag them all 3 into this box, and then check this little box up here, which says require client to choose itinerary version. Once you've done that and sent this over, the client will be able to see every itinerary that you've sent them. And when they respond with their approval, they have to tell you which one they approve. Kind of a nifty feature. It's only available for the file upload method right now, although we hope to add this to the other methods in the future. Next method, web link. Straightforward. If you use Travify or something similar and it gives you a link to send over to the client to say, hey, open this link and let me know what you think. Well, all you have to do is paste that link right in here instead. The benefit is, instead of sending this thing from a third party, you're going to send it through TravelJoy. It's going to be wrapped in this information up here, and then the itinerary is going to be below that. Once the client reads it, they'll have their nifty approve button up at the top right corner here. So they'll still be approving it through TravelJoy, even though you're using that third-party service. Just a nifty way to sort of integrate the two together. Now the final one here is new document. It looks like this is where you type something up completely from scratch, which you can absolutely do, but there's another way you can use this as well. I have this nifty flight out to Vegas right now, already pulled up in Google Flights. Added that to my clipboard, and I'm just going to paste it right here. As you can see, all of that information pasted in pretty nice and neat, and we're going to click Next Review Email. Again, the email has a subject line and a message that are tailored to what you're sending. This is completely automatic. Subject line, your proposal. Message body, I put together your proposal. Take a look and approve it. Let's come down and click Send. Okay, now that we've sent this over, we're going to go to Amanda Lynn's inbox. You'll see she's got a new email. She'll open the proposal. And as we saw earlier, this is going to wrap in your branding, your trip photo, your trip name that you've assigned, and it's going to have what you've copied and pasted right underneath. So she gets to take a look at all of this awesome information, get excited about her trip, and then she can click over to see the prices as well. This is the message that we added, by the way, under Notes. If she's ready to go, all she has to do now is click Approve Proposal. However, if she's not ready, she has the option to click Ask a Question, and that'll come to you and leave the proposal waiting for her approval. In this case, we're going to assume that Amanda Lynn is completely stoked about Vegas. She's clicked Accept, and I'm going to come back over here and refresh the page again. What you're going to see right at the top of the Messages tab is a blue Congratulations, Vegas or Bust has been approved. We're good to go. This means that we're ready to send an invoice. But before we do that, I want to go through one more form that you can send. That's the insurance form. And there's a reason that I want to go through that. Really quickly, you'll notice proposal approved, waiting on me. These stages are changing by themselves, as I mentioned earlier. So you don't typically have to ever change these on your own. Let's go ahead and create one more form really quick. Create form. And this time we're going to choose travel insurance and click Next Review Email. Now the thing is, when you send this form, it's just going to ask the client, hey, do you accept or do you decline and accept the responsibility of declining travel insurance? It's not going to give them the price or the details. So here's something that you can do. Right here on the email, you can say, please see attachment for insurance details. And then you can scroll down here to this little box that says Add Attachment, And you can drag your insurance PDF or Word document right in here. That way it's attached to the email, and when they open the form to respond, they're completely informed. Now, if you don't have a form and you just want to add some details right into the message, you can do that as well. Insurance is $450 per person prepaid. We'll come down here and click send. So basically the point here is I just wanted to show you that you can update the email message when you're sending a form, proposal, or invoice, and you can add attachments as well. Now I want to take a look at this form. Insurance is $450 per person prepaid. Amanda Lynn's going to open it. She's going to read this little disclaimer here. There's a nice little disclaimer about declining insurance, and she can accept or decline. So we're going to say she accepts, and then she's going to have to click to sign. This is my real signature, so don't copy it. Almost done. One more step. Click the blue button to submit the form. It's right up here. All set. She has now signed and accepted travel insurance. Now we get to head back and make a couple of invoices. As I alluded to earlier, there's two different types of invoices. And Julie, you were asking basically about the first time, which is a direct invoice. We're going to be going over that one first. Again, not everybody uses this. This is only for people who will be collecting payment that goes directly into their bank account. The second one, which collects payment information securely to use with suppliers, we'll go into in just about 4 minutes. For now, let's click Create, Direct Invoice. And by the way, this will not be there unless you filled out bank information, as I mentioned earlier. So we're going to go ahead and click this. And while that loads, Julie, there is an option for a credit card authorization as well. That's just under Forms. So you'd click Create Form and choose Credit Card Authorization under the Forms there. So that collects their information and collects a signature as well. We do, just in general, as a good practice, recommend using invoices so the client actually has a record of what they're authorizing, but we definitely understand and agree that every agent works a little bit differently and every client works a little bit differently. So we do make that available for you to use under Forms. All right, we're now on the direct invoice page here, and we're going to click Add an Item. Now there's 3 sections before I go into this. There's 3 sections when you're creating an invoice. There's the items, there's the settings, and then there's the payment schedule. So let's start with adding an item. Since this is a direct invoice, let's just say we're adding a trip planning fee. Here you can add a description, a quantity, a unit cost. You can change anything that's already there, like I'm going to make this $250 and click Save. Pretty straightforward. If you want to edit this after you've added it, you can click the little pencil icon. If you want to get rid of this after you've added it, click the Delete trash can here. So now that we've added our trip planning fee, let's take a look at settings. Again, as I mentioned earlier, credit card has a 2 business day processing time to hit your bank account. A bank transfer has a 5 to 7 business day transfer time because we have to wait for the check to clear. It's a little bit of an old school method. You can accept either or. Bank transfers are 1.5% processing fee, whereas the credit card's 3.5 plus 30 cents. So credit card's a little bit higher there. Charge client convenience fee here basically just means if this is checked, instead of you paying the processing fee, it will be added on for the client to pay. We have a lot of agents who are using this very successfully. So if you want to make sure that the client's covering the processing fee, leave this box checked. If you want to handle it yourself, uncheck it. Last thing down here is the payment schedule. We're going to make this all due at once. So we're going to click Add Payment. And automatically what it's going to do is create a payment for $250 with the description payment due today. Simple enough. In the next step, we're going to create a couple of payments on the supplier invoice. But for this one, let's just say it's all due in a lump sum. Now, the next thing that we have to do is save this. We can save and send it to the client, or we can just save it and wait to send it to the client later. If we're not ready to send this, we can click Next and then Save. That'll save it. You can come back anytime to finish sending. In this case, though, let's say we want to go ahead and send this over to Amanda Lynn. We'll click Save and Review Email. Subject and message match the type of form that we're sending over. We'll click Send. And again, this is going to pop up in Amanda Lynn's inbox. She's going to open the invoice, and just really quickly here, she's going to see the, your information, her information, the description, and then she's going to see the convenience fee right here. By default, the convenience fee shows for credit cards, which is the higher rate. However, when the client goes up to actually pay, she'll see an option to save $5.57 by using a bank transfer instead. This really puts the power in the hand of the client and makes the client feel good that they have the decision to choose either option here, whichever is more convenient or cost saving for them. Once they click this, a little box comes up to put in their payment information, and they are good to go. They're all paid up. I'm not going to put my credit card number in here for a couple of reasons, including the fact that this is a live form and I don't want to be charged. So let's just say she put her payment information in, and we'll go with that. When that happens, she'll automatically get a receipt. The invoice will automatically be marked as paid, and you'll get a notification. Simple enough. Now we're going to go into the other kind of invoice really quick. We're going to click Create Invoice Supplier. This is going to look very much the same on your end. Items, settings, payment schedule. You will notice there's one thing missing here under the settings, and that's the convenience fee. Because a supplier invoice is only collecting payment information for you to use elsewhere. There's no fees for that. We're going to click Add Item, Hotel, and let's put in some information here like the price. Let's just say $1,500. We'll put in a fake confirmation number. Hotel, let's go with Hilton Grand Vacations, Grand Alara. It's a nice place in Vegas. Room number. And check in and check out, you can put a time in there as well if you'd like to. Basically, for the most part, people would add something like this. Although this is freeform and you can handle this however you'd like. Now that we have all this information, before I click Save, I also want to add some commission information. Say I'm going to be getting a commission on this of $100. We're going to come over to the Commission tab right here. Anytime you're adding an item, you can come over to the Commission tab. Choose your supplier. Choose the booking date, which is today. And then add your expected commission date. Let's say we're going to collect that on my birthday, October 11th. And it's going to be $100. Now that we have all this information added, we can click Save. We can add more items if we want. We could add air, we could add car, anything that we want to add up here. But basically, the next thing that we're going to do is come down to the payment schedule. Again, when you click Add Payment, it's going to show a full payment here for the full amount. But in this case, we're going to want to do a deposit due today and the remainder due in a month. So we're going to click on the amount here, change it to 150. I'm going to click outside the box over here, and that'll flash blue, and that'll mean it's saved. I'm going to do the same for the description and change that to deposit. Click outside the box, and it's saved. I'm going to click Add Payment again, and it's going to do the math for me automatically. $13.50 remaining. So all I have to do is change the due date and change the description here. I'm going to call this Final Payment. Now, I'm not going to click outside the box to close this because I want to show you an error that comes up every now and then really quick. Because I'm not clicking out in the white space here to close this box, when I click Next, Save, it's going to say, oops, please save all your invoice payments before continuing. Click away from the item being edited. So I'm going to click down here. That flashes blue. It's a little point of confusion. We're looking for a better way to handle that, but in the meantime, that's what that error means. As long as you've clicked away and these are all showing the pencil icon, you can click Next, Save and Review Email. And you can send it along. So I'm going to show you what this looks like on the client's end as well, because it's a little bit different from the direct invoice, since in this case we're asking for an authorization. Here's what the supplier invoice actually looks like. Same information at the top, details about the hotel, price, and the payment schedule still at the bottom, but in the middle you're going to have credit card authorization. what it's going to do is pull the next payment that's due, $150, automatically put that amount in here. And then Amanda Lynn can either pick the card that she already has on file, or she can add a card if she wants to. Basically, she would put in all of this information and click Save Credit Card, and she would be able to choose that card. We're going to do that really quick here. And there's a reason for this. We're gonna, oh yeah, that's right. We're gonna save this card. And it's gonna say, not quite done, click below to sign. So the client still has to sign. And click the blue button to submit the form, right up here at the top. Now, what you'll notice is one thing as we go to mark this as paid. Now, say that you're going to go collect this payment information that Amanda Lynn just submitted, and you're going to submit it with the supplier. If you'll recall, she has 2 cards on file now, and they both end in 4242. So while you can go to her client profile and open up either one of those cards to securely view the information, or while you can do it right here from the Messages tab, you can click Payment Info and it's going to pull up her payment information. It's not going to tell you which card she used to authorize. This can, be a bit of confusion, especially for Amex if you've got multiple cards ending in 2000 or 1009 or whatever. Here's how you can handle that. You're going to go to the invoice, go to the Files tab, open the invoice. And then once it opens, you're going to scroll down. And now you see the authorized payment. This means the client's authorized this payment. There's a little credit card icon beside it. Now the advantage of coming to the invoice and clicking this icon here instead of anywhere else is that when you click it, I'm not going to touch anything else. It automatically opened the correct card. So that's how you know exactly which card the client used to authorize a purchase. You come to the actual authorization, click the icon, and the proper card will open up completely automatically. So, final step here. Let's just say that you went ahead and finished authorizing the payment. You've got the supplier portal. You've entered the information. It's all taken care of. Now you need to send the client a receipt, and you need to mark it as paid for your records. Well, it's probably pretty obvious as you're looking at the screen right now. You'd come over here and click Mark as Paid. This will bring up a box. The paid date, which is almost always the same day because you're going to go do this right after you finish with the supplier. And then send client receipt. You can turn this on or off. Obviously, we recommend leaving it on. Click Mark as Paid. Now, 2 things are going to happen. First, in this invoice itself, once you scroll down back to the payment schedule, once it's done loading, it's going to change from authorized over here to paid. The second thing that's going to happen is Amanda Lynn's going to have a receipt. And in that receipt, she's going to see the total, the payment she made, the balance due, and she's going to have a link to go back and view her invoice where she can make another payment if she chooses to do so. So that's just about everything here. Now basically we're just waiting for the client to take off on the trip and then come back so we can send them their welcome home email. Kind of as a last thought here, which we'll be diving into a little deeper tomorrow, you can come to the Messages tab. You can click on Email Templates down here. You can find the welcome home email and just click it, and it's going to fill in all of the details there to send the welcome home email directly over to Amanda Lynn. So that's a quick and easy way to do that as well. So that's everything. We've gone through an entire trip here, and obviously there's a lot more to learn. So TravelJoy 201 is definitely something that I highly recommend. Just as a little preview of what that goes into, I want to show you templates here. And then once I go to templates, I'm going to go to forms. And again, this is just a little preview of what's coming tomorrow. You can go into this client inquiry form. You can add any information you want. You can change the wording of the questions. You can change the order of the questions. You can add new questions. You can take questions out. You can change the name of the form. You can change the button that shows up that the client clicks submit on when they're done. All these different things you can do. There's a lot of forms, emails, invoice items, and task lists that you can create from scratch just once and then reuse those forever. So templates is a great way to save yourself a ton of time. One of the other things we'll be talking about tomorrow and 2 weeks from tomorrow as well is the reports tab, where you can see your commissions, sales, direct payments, and bank transfers by any date range, sorted by any stat. You can also export those out to an Excel spreadsheet. We're going to show you how to do all of that as well. So there's a lot of functionality we didn't get into today. TravelJoy is a very, very in-depth product here with a lot of different options. So I do hope you come back and join us for that. As I'm about to get into how to get support and how to get your questions answered, I would remind everybody that we've got just about 10 minutes left here, and I would definitely love to hear any questions that you have. So please go ahead and type those into chat, and we will be getting those answered here over the course of the next couple of minutes. I'm going to take a look at the ones that we have right now. For a supplier invoice, there's not a processing fee. The only time that you'll ever pay a processing fee is a direct invoice. So right now we don't connect directly to suppliers to automatically generate an invoice. That is something that we will eventually be doing. Obviously a lot of work there because there's hundreds of different suppliers, and we've got to sort of account for every use case and every different type of supplier and the way that they do these things. That said, it is a very exciting idea for us, and it is something that we're actively looking into right now. I'll say, as a tech person, I will say that it's impossible for me to give a realistic timeline because priorities change, roadblocks happen, and I know that you guys are probably well aware that if we hope to have something ready in 2 weeks, it could be done tomorrow or it could be done next year. So with that caveat, I do want to say that things like connecting directly to suppliers are all things that are on our roadmap. And I think that the next several months are going to be really exciting times here as we add a lot more automation of that sort in. So I guess the short answer is not yet, but soon. As far as creating an invoice, which we had just wrapped up here, there will be a recording of this afterwards. So for the sake of quite a few people that are still on the line here, I'm not gonna go back and completely do that topic again. But Patty, I will send you a link to the recording here once we wrap up, and you can go to about the 45-minute mark in that recording, or the 43-minute mark. And you'll be able to see how to create an invoice in that video. Groups is a big thing that we'll be going into tomorrow. It would be impossible to cover it in the 3 or 4 minutes that we have left. It's probably about a 15-minute segment in itself. But we'll be going over the new group booking thing. And Dan, I know I have to get yours activated today, so I will be getting to that very soon. But if you're interested in group booking, group registrations, group invoices, group messaging, all that good stuff, we'll be going over that in depth in TravelJoy 201 tomorrow. And there will be a recording of that as well. So if you'd like that recording, feel free to send me a message in chat at the bottom right corner of TravelJoy itself and request that recording. That way I can let you know how to get to it. We actually do have a lot of clients using both Client-Base and TravelJoy, and the reason for that is that there are some host agencies who use Client-Base sort of for the back-end type of stuff, commission payouts and things like that. One thing that we don't have, and that's basically because at the end of the day we're kind of a competing product, is the ability to sort of go in and grab that information out as far as trips and sync up with the other tool. It's something that I personally would love to see us have. We don't, we just don't have that capability, to be completely transparent. That said, we do have a lot of agents who are in that situation, who are entering the information in both places. And as you saw earlier, creating a trip, the actual act of creating a trip and sending a form takes about a minute and a half once you've gotten really used to it. So it's a very quick process to handle that on that end. And kind of, it is a little bit of doubling up on work. But we hope that we've made a tool that's quick enough and intuitive enough to where it's not going to add a lot of time to your day. So I do hope that helps, and I do hope we're able to be even better on that front eventually as far as, importing or syncing. So keep an eye out for that, and I will make a note that you asked about that today so we can keep researching it. So while anybody's typing up any last-second questions here, just a couple of quick things. I do want to reiterate that there's a lot that we have, but there's also still a lot that's in development. TravelJoy listens to agents, and that's where we take the bulk of our pride is to listen, find the exact tools that you need, and implement them in a way that's actually useful for you. So these questions that you guys have come up with, they're super appreciated, and we're going to try to use those to continue making the product better. Yes, Jennifer, the info submitted via a form does auto-populate the profile. Anything that you see that has a little blue icon like this syncs up to the client profile. There's certain things like this question here, what's the budget for all travelers? That's not going to sync up to a profile because that's going to change from trip to trip. But if you need to know the type of vibe that they're typically looking for, when they answer that question, that's going to sync up to their profile, so you can always go back and see that. ICs can be added. ICs are $10 per month per agent. And to add a team member, you would go down to settings and then team. Once they have been added, there are two different things that you can do. One is that you can click up here at the top right corner on your name and log in as them to take a look at all of their trips, all of their clients, and make any adjustments that you need to make directly. The second thing that you can do is go to reports, which we'll talk about a little bit more tomorrow. And you can look at reporting for individual team members as well as reporting for the entire agency. So that is available to you as well. Yes, you can put a link in the body of an email. That is a great question. And I'm going to head back to Amanda Lynn's trip here really quick. We are planning to very soon make a little change here. Let me just say hello here, and I'm going to highlight this. Oh, we've made the change. Awesome. So when you highlight this little bar is going to come up where you can change the font size, color, bold, italics. You can also come over here to link. And you can change the text link to go to TravelJoy. Insert link, and now that is a link for the client, and that will show up with the blue underline and all that in their email client. So you can absolutely add links to emails. So just really quick here, since I know that a lot of folks are going to need to jump off here soon, we've only got a couple of minutes to go. I did want to show you two things, and that's how to get help and then how to sign up. So how to get help, that part's really, really easy. Bottom right corner of the screen here, you're going to see this little blue circle with a white square inside of it. Click that. You're going to see a few things. The latest news story that we've posted. A way to search for questions. Say, for example, you need to know about group booking. You can search, and it's going to pull up some answers that you can click on to look at guides. If none of that helps, you can click on New Conversation. And that's going to start a conversation, usually with me, but as I said, all four of us do take turns on the weekends as well, so we do answer you 7 days a week. Questions and answers can take up to a couple of hours, and that is basically because, for example, right now, for the past 58 minutes, I have not been able to answer any questions since I've been on the webinar. So because we have a small team, just understand that we do get back to you as quickly as possible, but chat will not be instant. If you're ever locked out of TravelJoy, you can get in touch with me as well by emailing hello@traveljoy.com. You can add that to your address book. Emails and chats come to the same place at the same time for me, so you never need to do both. I don't mind, but I don't want to waste your time, so one or the other will be just as effective as both. Just wanted to let you guys know that. And then the final thing is the tutorials tab. This is the one other place that you can get yourself some instant help. You're going to see the latest TravelJoy 101, which is what we did today. Now you can't ask questions during this one because it's just a recording. You'll also see TravelJoy 201. So if you want to check that out, you can go over there and do so. As you scroll down the page, there's a whole lot of other information though. There's creating trips, building forms, sending invoices, all kinds of helpful stuff here. And I am currently in the process of redoing a lot of these videos, not because they're incorrect, but because the sound quality wasn't great before, and we've made some improvements there. So be on the lookout for this to be updated in a pretty big way over the next couple of weeks. So that's all the different ways that you can get support. You can also go to help.traveljoy.com, which is the same thing as searching for something right here. So keep that in mind. Last thing, how to join us. We've got 1 minute left. You can go to settings and then membership. It's that easy. And when you come to settings and membership, you're going to enter a promo code. TJ Rocks, 50% off of your first month for attending the webinar today. And I'm going to type this into the chat as well. TJ Rocks, get that on your clipboard, save it. Click on enter promo code up here to the top right, add that in, and you'll save 50% off of your first month with TravelJoy. Also keep in mind the annual and 3-year plans save you a ton of money, and you do have a 30-day guarantee. So if you do decide to go with one of the bigger plans here, you can absolutely still get your money back within the first 30 days. So if you want to save some money, be sure to check those out. With all that said, guys, it looks like we're wrapped up for today. TJ Rocks, the promo code, is good for 1 week from today. And if you're watching this as a recording later, since I said I would send that out to a few folks, let me know if the code's expired, and we will work to get something put together for you in the interim. If you do run into any more questions from here on out, go ahead and hit that chat box at the bottom right corner and let me know, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you, everybody, for attending today, and I look forward to speaking with all of you in the near future. Have a great day.